drink is that orange high C. That's where it's at.
That's hilarious. It's true.
And I think that's one of the few fast food places that actually offers that.
I know, right? Just like how Taco Bell has the Baja Blast.
Oof.
Mm.
I haven't been to Taco Bell in a minute, but I remember for the longest time, literally, they had some sort of exclusivity deal where you couldn't get it anywhere else. You can't get like bottles or cans or anything of Baja Blast. You had to go to Taco Bell to get that shit. And I would go.
After a while, because now they have it in the stores, but they still don't have it at any other fast food place but Taco Bell. So
Right. Mm-hmm.
it's still the same.
Now that I stopped drinking Mountain Dew, that's when they decided to offer it everywhere.
Right.
One of my fondest memories, I think we stopped by Taco Bell leaving from mom and dad's to like your school, your university. I think we just grabbed a bunch of food and I got like the largest drink. I remember asking them too, like, what's the largest size that you can offer for a Baja Blast? And they're like, oh, we got like this family cup. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, we'll take that. And it was literally like
a bucket,
a KFC bucket with like a lid and a handle.
and
I was like, what the fuck is this? What the it was like a bucket, like straight up like something that you would like take to the beach to like build sandcastles.
Right.
This lid was legit though. This lid was not coming off. It was like sealed to the cup. And then
That's
it had a
good.
built-in handle into the top of it.
Yeah, like a sand bucket.
Yeah, it was like
Seriously.
a family size soda cup. It was hilarious though. I think when it drank like a fifth of it.
Yeah. I don't doubt that.
Another thing I want to bring up before we head into our movie, but it kind of has a little bit to do with the topic we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about learning to drive for the first time?
That was fun. When I was first learning to drive, I first got taught, I guess it was in our old Sentra that would eventually become my car. That car was stick shift. In case nobody knows what that means, the young people don't know what that means. It's a manual transmission. Just teasing. But anyway, it's a stick shift, right? And my mom's trying to teach me how to drive stick shift in this car. She doesn't really know. She doesn't know the English words for car terms, and I don't know the Japanese words for car terms. So it did not translate, and it didn't go well.
Literally didn't translate.
Yeah, literally. So eventually, I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was a really good driver. And he drove stick shift. He drove all kinds of different cars. Like he would drive his grandparents around in their car. He would drive his mom's car if she wanted to like send him to the store. And then he had his own car that was also stick shift. So he actually ended up teaching me how to drive stick shift better. No offense to my mom. I really got the hang of adapting to different clutches on that car.
That's true.
Because I mean different stick shifts, different cars had different, like different clutch release, like pedal, like gas clutch release press, patterns or whatever. And
with a manual transmission, every car literally feels different.
Yeah, it does. It's true.
Your training with mom was very stressful. Wasn't she like yelling at you and she's like, get out of the straight, you're blocking everyone's way?
Yeah.
I remember you saying like, oh my god, that was a terrible experience.
And she would take me to like someplace like Walmart where there's that one, like when you turn into the parking lot, there's that hill, and then you'd have to stop. There's a stop sign at the top of the hill.
On the hill.
Yeah. And so that was very stressful because I was like, I'm gonna roll on the person behind me, and then I would stall, and then I'd have to restart the car and then try again.
Yeah, I actually had a very positive experience learning how to drive stick shift for the first time because you were the one that taught me how to drive.
I don't even remember this.
Yeah, in the same car. So, and the area that you took me was actually perfect because it had a little bit of everything. So you took me up by Serrano Middle School.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's actually where I had my very first experience driving. We got caught. Nadia took me to that same parking lot in her car, and we snuck out. And I think we snuck out with her mom's car actually, and she was just barely learning how to drive.
Oh damn. You want to take us in?
Okay. Welcome to Aflixionados podcast, episode 34. New episodes drop on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on YouTube at Aflixionados Podcast. So please give us a like and a subscribe. We also have merch. Find the link down in the descriptions of our episodes. My name is Stephanie, and the other voice occupying your head this time is Cinephile, Proud Dog Dad, and Tech Geek, my brother Eric.
How you doing?
Here on Aflixionados Podcast, we mainly talk about films that range from mind-numbing to mind-blowing. We also cover TV shows and other forms of media. Of course, we'll be getting into spoilers here, and there will be only the healthiest amount of expletives tossed in. You have been warmed. That's a
Yeah.
throwback.
Been a while.
I know. If you ain't ready, then get ready, because in this episode, we will be discussing the action racing comedy Speed Racer, released in 2008, directed by the Wachowskis. Here we go.
Is this our first Wachowski? No, we did Cloud
No, we did
Atlas.
Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I did have to relook up how to pronounce Wachowskis because I forgot.
Yeah, I always mess it up. I'll probably end
I
up
know.
calling them the Wachowskis.
Yeah, right.
So, Speed Racer, based on the Japanese manga and anime series of the same name, created by Tatsuo Yoshida. It had been in development hell since 1992, believe it or not.
Really? No way.
It was a bunch of, heart stops, basically. Like, they couldn't really get any momentum.
Well, I'm kind of glad that they did, because I really like what the Wachowskis did with it. So interesting fact, I guess. Well, I guess not really that interesting, but last night I was trying to watch this film and I completely fell asleep, but Andrew continued to watch it without me. Watch the whole thing. He had some points. He's like, I tried to wake you up. I wanted to talk about it and this and that. And he ended up, throughout the day when I was working, he ended up like texting me this different points that he had that he probably would have brought up if he was on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But both of us can't be on this podcast at the same time ever because we have a bajillion kids. So somebody has to take care of those little peanuts.
Mm-hmm. You almost said something else. Those darlings.
Yes.
Obviously, this movie is very stylized, and to be able to achieve the desired visual aesthetic, the visual effects designer John Gaeta and effects supervisor Dan Glass developed a method of layering photographic and computer-generated imagery that they described as poptimistic photo anime. How else are you supposed to describe it? You know what I mean?
That's the only way, clearly. I mean, obviously from the very beginning, I really enjoyed from the first time I saw it back in, college. I really enjoyed the visuals. I really enjoyed the vivid colors, the vivid imagery, the vivid everything, and I enjoyed, all the like the motion lines and stuff like that. It's just a
That's really
lot of
cool.
fun, and I feel like that it, called back to its manga and comic origins well, and it was just a lot of fun, Interesting thing is that this movie is rated PG.
Too much fighting.
But I mean, I my what I'm saying is that is rated that low, and it's not like it's interesting because I don't consider it a kids movie, but it's rated PG, right? I feel like it's an adult movie calling back to your younger years.
Well, it makes sense because the anime is so damn old that all the people that would have watched it are old now.
That's true. That's true.
So we're the only ones that would get it.
I think that was actually one of Andrew's arguments is that it's a kid movie with an adult story, adult plot.
It's actually pretty cool because what I like about it is that, especially with all the CGI and the colors and stuff like that, and the humor, I would say, because the humor is kind of campy, it can appeal to kids, but also it throws a lot of stuff in there and like little nods back to the anime that the adults would probably be the ones to pick up on. So it's kind of cool that they got a little bit of everything, like a little bit for the adults and the kids.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was saying that Andrew was saying that it's like a kids movie with an adult plot or whatever, but he meant that kind of as a criticism. But I mean, I kind of disagree. I still think it's an adult movie. Like I said, that kind of calls back to simpler times, I guess. That reminds me of my younger years, I suppose. And I feel like it's something that I really found out that I could enjoy.
This movie is kind of comedic and campy, and That's kind of where it
That's
lives, you
the
know?
that's the charm of it.
Yeah.
It kind of has that old timey kind of, campy feel to it, like an old 50s or
Kind of
60s.
like an anime, honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, this is essentially when I was describing it to my coworkers, I was kind of just telling them like this is basically like about as close as you can get to a live action anime other than like Scott Pilgrim.
yeah,
In a lot of ways, they do share a lot of similar visual effects.
yeah. I agree.
I also wanted to mention that back in the day when I was in high school, didn't have any money, much like a lot of kids probably do today. I did bootleg some movies for you and dad. And so I would kind of like make specific movies for you, and then I'd make specific movies for dad. But you and dad both wanted this one. So I actually made you guys two different versions of Speed Racer.
Yeah, if anyone, I mean, maybe some people don't even have this experience anymore. But when you pop in a DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, you get through like previews or whatever, and eventually you get to a screen where it shows maybe like a little clip of the movie or whatever, but it has like the play button and the scenes button and the subtitles button, and you pick whatever you want to do from there. So
Mhm.
that what do you call it? The title screen or something?
The DVD menu, yeah.
Yeah, the menu screen. You used to make those menu screen videos and then put those on your DVDs too. So it was like almost a legit movie.
Oh my god! And I used this like built-in Windows Movie Maker, and it was just ass. You only really got like 10 templates to choose from, so I would just kind of try to cycle between them, and it's actually pretty cool. So for Dad, when I made his Speed Racer, I had like the American lyrics going on for the background music, and then for you, I changed it up and used the Japanese rap part for that menu
Yeah, I
video.
remember. That was awesome.
Sprinkle a little of that Salt Bay on top, try to make it special.
I still have it. Yeah, I don't know what happened to all the bootlegs that you made for Dad though. I don't remember seeing those when we moved all that stuff over here.
They probably got tossed, honestly, because I don't think mom was going to be interested in watching any of those.
Yeah, but she didn't toss any of Dad's stuff, or at least not that stuff.
No? Oh.
No, we took she didn't touch any of the DVDs. We took all of them, so I don't know where he had the bootlegs.
So we got Speed Racer, played by Emil Hirsch. He's a young man whose life and love has always been about automobile racing. He just loves to race. It's in his blood. It's in his family. You know, his dad works on cars. His older brother raced, and that's that was his hero.
Mm-hmm.
Speed's parents, Pops, played by John Goodman, and Mom, played by Susan Sarandon, run the independent racing shop, Racer Motors, in which Speed's younger brother, Spritle, played by Polly Litt, his pet Chimp, Chim Chim, and mechanic Sparky, played by Kick Gurry, are also involved in this business.
It's interesting because he when he was Spritle's age, that's when Rex was like his age, and
Hmm.
so why do they keep putting such big gaps in between all their children?
Also, I feel like Spritle, at least with Rex and Speed, they kind of look like they're related. Spritle doesn't look like he's related to Speed at all.
I think maybe the first two boys got mom's genes and Spritle got pop's genes,
I was gonna say Spritle does look like he would more closely
like little
resemble
old
John
man.
Goodman, though.
Yeah,
What'd you think about Trixie? Trixie's played by Christina Ricci, and that is Speed's girlfriend.
I loved her in it. I mean, she definitely played up the anime characterness of it. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I've always been a fan of hers. I liked her in various different things that she's done, and so I think she has a lot of talent and everything. So I really enjoyed her character in this too.
I wouldn't say that she's like my favorite actress or like the best actress or anything like that, but I felt like her style of acting worked really well for this movie. She passed the vibe check, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trixie, she often flies around in like a helicopter. That's usually like her signature thing. And I think that was taken from the anime as well. But unlike most female characters in cartoons at that time, Trixie is not portrayed as a helpless, perpetual victim, which is actually kind of interesting. So she has proven herself the equal of Speed several times in this movie.
Hmm.
Like, even when they're forced into physical altercations, dude, she kicks ass.
Yeah, that's true. Which is awesome.
Actually, everyone kind of kicks ass, except for Sparky.
I know, poor Sparky.
He's kind of lame.
I know. I was thinking that probably came from the anime or something too, because yeah, I mean he very very much could not fight.
So yeah, growing up, as mentioned, Speed idolized his older brother, Rex Racer. You know, Rex was already an accomplished racer himself, and Speed was like, I want to be just like him. You know, like that's my hero. He kind of set the bar pretty high, and the expectations were also high for Speed. But I don't know, it's I think that's kind of what allowed him to be able to grow and become such a great racer himself.
He would, pick Speed up from school, and then Speed would be like, "Oh, you're going to the track. Take me with you. Take me with you." And he's like, "Okay, but you can't tell pops," kind of thing. And then the other times, like it would show a flashback where I guess he got in a crash or something like that, and he came back like all banged up, and
He was in good spirits though.
yeah, but he was all excited, and so I think it was mostly Rex kind of. I mean, it was just in his blood, but Rex was the only one kind of encouraging it, at least when he was that little.
Rex, unfortunately, he was killed while racing in the infamous Casa Cristo 5000, which is a deadly cross country rally race. So I guess it's not known for having the best reputation. And for whatever reason, Rex felt that he needed to participate in the race. He was being very cryptic with a lot of the stuff that he would tell Speed, because he would say, you know, there's one day people are going to say things about me, and I just want you to know that none of it's true. Don't ever believe them, type of thing.
Yeah, he was just kind of. I mean, he wasn't in a place where he could, fix it, or maybe like the world just wasn't in the right place yet, or the
Right.
corporations weren't in the right place yet, or whatever. But I think it's interesting the way that they show that history, because at the beginning, it shows Speed in a race driving very, very fast, and they mentioned that he might actually beat the record, which was set by his brother. And so then
Hmm.
it shows kind of like a phantom car driving in front of him, and he's chasing that, and that's supposed to be like the ghost of Rex kind of thing,
Hmm.
um, or the memory of Rex.
So how'd you feel about him almost beating Rex's record? Because I almost feel like it's kind of cool to leave that legacy there. You know, it's like Rex is still on the board as the quickest racer for this course or whatever.
He definitely could have easily done it, and he knows that, but he's the one who slowed himself down at the very end and let the memory of Rex beat him. And
Right.
I think that's his way of keeping him alive.
Yeah, it's true, but also at the same time, playing devil's advocate, Rex wouldn't want you to limit your abilities. You know, like you should try to be the best that you can be.
Yeah. Rex would definitely want him to smash his record, and he would be proud of him, but Speed doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to, like I said, he wants to keep him alive that way, keep his
Yeah.
memory there, keep that record there, keep his name up there, and
In doing that, you kind of remain in your brother's shadow, right? Like you're never going to be able to step out from underneath that shadow if you just keep doing that. He's got to make a name for himself as well.
yeah.
I was actually impressed with the way that the Wachowskis managed to fit so many brief expositions in every single crack that they could, right? So within a span of like 5 minutes, they were able to cover so much backstory.
Yeah, they definitely kept this movie going nonstop. I don't think it ever took a break. And actually, Andrew was saying that it was kind of hard to keep his eyes on it because it just moved so fast and the colors were so bright. Of course, that's what I love about it. So,
Sure, yeah. It is visually stunning, I will say.
mhm. I absolutely loved it. I remember just being blown away. I honestly don't even remember if I saw it in the theater. I don't think I ever did. I think I might have just seen it for the first time on my computer at school.
Yeah. On like a laptop.
Yeah, even just on a little laptop screen, I was blown away. Imagine seeing it in the theater. I would have loved to have seen it in the theater. I wish I had.
Also because you guys were really into like films based off of mangas, so this would fit in that
Or comic.
same,
Yeah,
yeah, same trend.
all of those. So yeah, that makes sense.
So the CEO of the conglomerate Royalton Industries offers Speed an astoundingly luxurious lifestyle in exchange for signing to race exclusively with him, basically selling out, right? So
Yes.
you're sold to the devil.
Yeah.
You know, he was tempted, but Speed ultimately declines because his father's distrust of power-hungry corporations. You know what the weird thing is that when he shows up, you know, he's kind of trying to be like the nice guy, and he's all
Oh my god, he's
smiles, and
kissing
he
so much
brings
ass.
gifts praising the, was it waffles or pancakes or whatever.
Pancakes, and then his plane's all just chilling in the street right outside, and
It's like basically in their lawn.
he's just he's. I know he's showing off, and he's also kissing ass so hard.
Hmm. What I thought was interesting about it was that You know, this is a well-known company, Royalton Industries. I bet every fucking racer knows who they are. And the Speed's family were basically like, "Oh, hey, who are you? Like, you're not
Right.
gonna know who the hell this guy is?"
I mean, maybe they didn't know who the CEO was. I'm sure they heard of, Royalton or whatever, but maybe they didn't exactly know his face. Like I can't think of any CEOs for any company.
I guess I don't know. Maybe I was assuming it would be like Apple or Microsoft or something. Like everyone knows the top dogs over there.
I guess, but and if it was just like some other company, like Bank of America, I don't know who the CEO of Bank of America is.
Well, you need to educate yourself. What have you been teaching yourself and your kids?
I know, I'm behind.
What did you think of Royalton Industries, like the headquarters? He's like, "You introduced me to your family. Now I want to introduce you to my family," which is basically his headquarters and who everyone who works for him.
It is impressive and all that, like for someone who likes nice, pretty, shiny new things. All that stuff was impressive, but I totally understand why they wouldn't want to, sell out and join that, because then they're tied to it. They probably have to sign a contract and they're obligated. And, if they ever breach that, then they'll get the pantsuit off of them. And it's, something like that is tempting, but also might not be worth it.
He was fully expecting a yes, I'll go ahead and sign the
Yeah,
contract. And so that's why he gets so fucking pissed later. But before I
I
get
know,
into that, I really quick, why the hell was the headquarters a damn Willy Wonka factory?
right?
Like that was the vibe I was getting when he was showing off everything.
That's true. Is that all his company is about? Is just training racers? I mean, what is Royalton Industries?
Apparently, yeah, it's just all about racing and winning all the time. They pay to win essentially because they have all the best equipment,
Oh,
all
they
the
have
best
the
drivers.
foundries for the, what is it, the engine thing?
The transponder,
Yeah, the transponder foundries. Maybe that's what his corporation's about.
they just win by default because no one else literally can compete because their cars are always the quickest.
And is it just me, or did Royalton have a really punchable face?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did that on purpose. He actually reminds me of like a bootleg Tim Curry.
I could see that.
Oh, I didn't mention either. Royalton is played by Roger Allam. Allam, Allam.
um,
And
what?
he totally does a 180, and he totally becomes a different person. He is pretty
Shows
intimidating,
his true
actually.
colors.
Yeah.
Hmm. I know. Like, what did he think that was going to accomplish? Like, Speed's going to be like, "Oh, never mind, I will join you." Like, that's just gonna, make him feel stronger in his decision, dumbass.
Hmm. For the next race, which I think was Fiji, no Fuji, right?
Yeah.
So he does that, but Royalton, he has some of his drivers actually play a little dirty, and they purposely crash into the Mach 5 and cause Speed to not even finish the race.
When he's all threatening him, like when he does his 180 and starts threatening him, he's like, "You're never gonna cross another finish line, and you're gonna suddenly find yourself in a bunch of legal battles and this and that." And so
Hmm.
that's what they actually find starts happening to them, because Royalton is, pulling his strings and making their lives hell just out of spite, which is fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Like they're straight up like just strong arming this little family business and attempting to drown them in legal expenses.
Yeah. So it's pretty messed up. But then they are confronted. He gets approached by the inspector detector. Inspector detector? Is that his
Yeah, that's
name?
his name. It's proper noun, yeah. Inspector Detector, which is a stupid ass name. It definitely sounds
Well,
anime.
I mean, Speed Racer. Come on,
Yeah.
like they're all pretty dumb.
But like why does it rhyme?
So he gets, oh god, he gets approached by Inspector Detector, who is the head
Oh,
of.
that name sucks.
Can't say it seriously. I know. The head of the Corporate Crimes Division of the Central Intelligence Bureau. So they start hatching a plot, basically, right, to get back at Royalton.
It's actually pretty cool because Inspector Detector already he already has like this whole plan
True.
underway. Inspector Detector, damn you. So he already has this plan underway, right? And so
Uh huh.
actually wants to have Speed join him and help him out with that.
Yeah, it would help them succeed because he's very strong in his skills. So there is this other, what is another corporation, right?
Yeah,
The
it is
Togacon.
Toga-Con. Yeah,
Yeah. So what do they call him in the movie? They pronounce it so wrong, and I always forget how.
it's Tejo.
Oh, okay, Tejo. Okay.
Yeah,
Um.
it's a weird name. Played by Korean pop star Rain, I might add.
Yeah, that's true. Um. Famous dude. If you've never heard of him. So Tejo Togacon is the son of the head of Togacon. I'm sure his name is what, Pops Togacon, right?
Pops
And
Toga-Con. Yeah, very Japanese.
I know. And him and his sister are like in on this whole plot or whatever. So it's like Togacon and what's his name? Inspector.
The inspector.
Yeah, the inspector, detective.
God damn it.
So Racer X, I guess Racer X is this mysterious masked racer. Nobody knows his identity, and people are kind of scared of him. It seems.
Yeah, what's his nickname? He has a moniker.
Oh,
Do you remember?
I don't remember.
The Harbinger of Boom,
Oh, that's right.
which is actually pretty cool name.
Yeah, it's cool and dumb at the same time.
It might be one of the cooler aspects of the entire movie.
Well, basically, Togacon supposedly has evidence that could indict Royalton, but will only dish that stuff up if Speed agrees to help him win this race because and this is where it gets like a little corporatey and I start kind of glossing over when they're explaining it, right? But
Mm,
it's something along the lines of Togacon has one of the transponder foundries and Royalton is trying to buy them all up.
right. He wants to monopolize.
Yeah, and so they're saying that if they won this race, then Togacon's stock would rise so much that it would make a buyout impossible because it would be too expensive for him. Help me win this race, make this buyout not happen, and I will give you this information.
Oh, so he's doing a hostile takeover over Toga-Con as well.
Yeah, because
Dang.
freaking it's Royalton. So that's how I understood it. I think if I'm right, I hope, yeah, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah, sounds about right.
so Casa Cristo, which seems to be someplace like it seems like a little bit like a Morocco-y kind of.
Hmm. Like North Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then they start driving in the desert and stuff, so that could be, like another part, part of the Sahara or something like that. So,
Sure.
they never say where it is, but that's kind of how I imagine that area. And it looks very beautiful. I mean, Morocco is definitely a place that I would like to visit one day.
It's got
So,
like that Middle Eastern flair to it too.
yeah, it's great. Um, and of course, everything in this movie is beautiful anyway. So,
Hmm.
wherever you are.
Also, another thing that I realized with the anime is that Speed looks very androgynous, which I wonder why they decided to make him that way.
I think that might have just been like a 60s art style kind of
Oh, you think
thing.
so?
The little neck scarf thing,
Yeah.
that's that was just, a back then thing.
That was just totally necessary.
I think when people would drive the older convertibles, it doesn't have like a proper windshield that covers everything and people are wearing like riding goggles and a neck scarf.
You know, Michael actually wears that to work. So it's a
A
thing,
neck
all right?
scarf?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say about that.
Cool.
um so it's funny that you bring that up because that's the exact outfit that Speed walks into Casa Cristo with,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like he has the red neck scarf and like the like light blue shirt and everything, white pants.
Yeah.
All right, as you were, Casa Cristo, which is like, I think it might, in my opinion, it might be the best part of the movie. This is fucking dope.
So yeah, so this well, I actually like the final race personally, but I mean it's super over the top, but it all is, right? It all is. And I kind of it reminds me of like a racing video game. For Andrew, he was telling me that it reminded him of just literally like toys, like Hot Wheels toys. Like anytime the camera is zoomed out and you just see kind of the cars all racing together, it
Mm-hmm.
reminded him of Hot Wheels. But I was
Mm-hmm.
like, to me, it reminded me of video game, like racing video, like Mario Kart, with the crazy tracks. And
Sure, yeah.
obviously not the same cars as Mario Kart, but maybe like another racing game with the crazy tracks of Mario Kart. But Casa Cristo is not a track race; it's a cross country race out there in the environment, and on the roads and stuff. And
Don't even have roads, it's just dirt.
yeah, well, parts of it, right? But it takes 2 days, and so they race for a while, and then they all stop, and then they pick it back up the next day. So they they race, and I think they come in like second or something, don't they?
Oh, so Speed also because the Mach 5 typically only has jump jacks, so he actually gets an upgrade to his Mach
Right.
5 like
Yeah.
defensive modifications. There are a bunch of like psychotic people in this race and they're all trying to kill him.
Yeah, so like everyone has all these crazy mods on their cars with blades and knives and maces and
Beehives like those Vikings.
it goes through. Yeah, I know. Beehive, that's so random. And so it goes through a little montage of all these racers getting bought out with things that they love. So the like those women, they get bought out with diamonds or whatever, and then money for the snake dudes, and then the Viking people, they give them like a big old chest full of furs. They're all just eating their turkey legs and stuff,
And
and
rubbing their
then they're
faces
still
on
like
it.
all greasy with the food in their mouths, and they're just all like rubbing the furs on their greasy faces. And
Ugh.
yeah, it's disgusting.
Ugh. Oh, it's also important to note that Speed never asked for permission to go into Casa Cristo because he knows that his
Oh
family would
yeah.
have been totally against it. So he basically just leaves and like doesn't tell him where he's going.
And he tells him that he's going skiing with Trixie. Yeah,
Oh,
she
that's
totally
right.
blackmails him, and so she goes along.
Looks like we're going skiing.
I At some point, Spritl's trying to watch this race on TV, and I don't think he knows that Speed's going to be there. But he's trying to sneak in and watch it, and his dad's like, no, because this is the race where his brother died.
Yeah, so the second half it takes place in like icy mountains, and that's where Rex died.
Yeah, that's what Rex died. So this race is dead to the family, basically. It's off limits. And
Right.
so Spritl's trying to sneak and watch it. His dad's like, no. And so then his dad eventually is like, I need to go into town for some parts. I'll be back. And then he leaves, and Spritle runs into the house and turns it on the TV. And then he like loses a remote or something right then and there. And so Pops comes back for like he forgot something or whatever. Spritle's like trying to find the remote. And he's like, oh, and he can't find it. And Pops is like, what are you like freaking out? What are you watching? And he's like, wait, but before like, I think that's when he realized that speed was there.
Then who's driving the Mach 5?
Exactly. Don't try and distract me. Speed's skiing. And then he's like, well, if Speed's not there, then who's driving the Mach 5?
Oh shit. The reason why I think that Casa Cristo 5000 is my favorite part of the movie is because it's so stylized, it's zany, it's fucking wacky, and it perfectly showcases the anime influences in this part of the movie. And
Yeah.
also I feel like it even has like Mad Max vibes to it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Like some
Because they're all
desert
trying to
racing,
destroy each other.
car battles.
Yeah. It's the most out there. But I think for me, I like the Grand Prix because of the all the excitement. I think it's the final race, and all the emotions are high, and everyone's free. All the announcers are freaking out, and we'll get there anyway.
I will say too, I think that this is kind of up there with the opening race in Ready Player One, and I think for me, it might actually top it.
Yeah.
Ready Player One had a lot of potential, but I just felt like it wasn't executed that well. But that race was not in the book, and that race was pretty cool.
Sort of. Well, we won't get into Ready Player One. That's a whole other podcast. We'll have to do that one sometime, I guess, because I've read the book actually a couple times, and I have opinions on the movie and the differences between the movie and the book. But we'll definitely we should get into that one of these days. What I really liked about the Casa Cristo are the fight scenes. Not even the race. I mean, I like the racing, obviously, but I really like. So you know how they have the break in between the 2 days, right? So they're all at the hotel, and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
Speed's
Sure.
family shows up, right?
Right, right.
And Speed's just like eating dinner with Trixie. It's a nice night. And then, there's a knock on the door, and they're like, do you know these people? And he looks around the corner, and it's his entire family. Basically, of course they argue a little bit, and then at the end they're like, "Well, if you're staying, we're staying." So they all settle in for the night, and then the ninjas show up. That sounds ridiculous saying it out loud. Like, oh, they're just all going to bed, and then the ninjas show up.
So it's not even just like a generic assassin. You just have ninjas carry
Just
out your
straight up
assassinations.
ninjas. And so it's interesting because they get to Toga and they like have this string that they string down right over his mouth, drip some poison into his mouth, right? Whatever they said it was. As a chemist, I should know this. And then they have a syringe that they're gonna inject Racer X with, but then all of a sudden he's up and he heard them or wasn't asleep or whatever, but like they start fighting him and the
Mhm.
ninja, and of course he gets like some scarf thing and he wraps it around his face because he doesn't even want the ninjas knowing his identity.
It was pretty cool. I like how they did it because they want to prolong the reveal, so they kept him in the shadows while he was fighting, so you can only kind of see like his torso and stuff like that. And then when
Yeah,
before he steps out into the moonlight, he like wraps that shirt or whatever around his mouth.
yeah, it's like a scarf thing, I think. So then they're fighting, right? And then of course there's a ninja that comes in, and oh no, he had the syringe and he was trying to inject Speed, but right when he's about to inject him, Spritle wakes up and he sees him like hovering over Speed with a syringe, and he starts screaming.
Attack!
So they get up and they start fighting. Speed fights all right, but I don't get the sense that that's like his main thing. So like he's just kind of defending himself, right? And then Pops comes in and it shows his ring, and it says something like like champion wrestling or whatever. Like it's
Yeah,
like a class ring for wrestling.
he's like a collegiate wrestler.
He starts wailing on this ninja, just taking him out, right? Whipping him through the air, spinning him and throwing him, and
Very anime like because he's like super strong, right?
it's hilarious. I think it's funny, and then Racer X, he ends up throwing his ninja against a wall, like between the couch and the wall, and then he shoves the couch against the wall, and it like snaps his legs up, and you hear the bones crack, and he's just like, oh.
Oh!
Uh,
What did you think
I-
of Racer X? Like, I actually thought he did a pretty damn good job, like with the martial arts and like trying to look
yeah.
badass. It didn't look corny or anything like that.
The guy that played Rex. Side note, he looks so familiar to me, and I finally looked him up, and he's the mayor in Ginny in Georgia. So for anybody out there that watches that show,
I have no idea what that is.
I know it's a Netflix show that's a drama, but it's pretty good. So they end up
Race 2?
Toga yeah, race two. Toga is drugged up. He can hardly even stand. And so basically they're like, what are we gonna do? And they end up putting Trixie in to race.
This was a cool swerve.
Yeah. So they put Trixie in there, and they set up a rendezvous point where it's like a dead spot for the cameras, and so that they can switch Toga back in, because by then the poison should have gone through his system.
Well, they do a couple swerves at the same time because I think they try to ambush Toga Khan's sister, right? And it ends up
Oh
being
yeah,
him
it
in
being
disguise.
Toga, yeah, dressed in her clothes. So that worked out well, but when they stop at the rendezvous point to switch out, it turns out that I think Royalton sent some of his guys. Who is that guy with the piranhas? Is that just like Royalton's like mob? It's like he carries out his dirty work kind of guy.
I forgot what his name was. He had like an actual legit name, but he's like the head of the mob portion of it.
Right. So he sends that crew basically, and they ambush this rendezvous. And this is actually my favorite fight scene.
Oh, really?
Yes, for one reason and one reason only, because of the way that they use the snow as motion lines.
Oh, that is cool. That is
Yeah,
very cool. Awesome visual effects all throughout this movie.
yeah, they do some crazy stuff. But yeah, I really like how they use the snow for as motion lines as they fought.
They're almost like punching through the snow as well.
Yeah, and so I just thought it was a really cool effect, a really cool like kind of comic book effect that they translated into the film, and especially
Oh
the
yeah.
fact that instead of just having like some motion lines just appear, they use the snow to be the motion lines. So I really like
Yeah.
that. I thought it was really cool.
it darts back and forth between each fight because everyone is kind of paired up with someone different. So it's just
Right, and they're
like
all kicking ass
cycling
except
through.
Sparky, of course. Poor guy.
Sparky is just getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
I got that guy's name. So the gang leader guy, his name is Cruncher Block.
that's not a real name. You said it was a legit name.
A unique, not just like a driver one or like a gang
Oh,
leader
right.
guy. Like he actually has like
Yeah,
a
that's about
name.
as good as Inspector Detector.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. Um,
So race two, back to race two.
I know. So they kick those guys' asses, and it's no big deal. They get back to the race, right? It was just a fun fight scene. I don't think it really accomplished anything story wise except making Royalton even more mad. It's interesting because I feel like after Royalton has his like little 180, then the rest of his lines through the whole movie are just "Get him!"
Spitting while he's talking.
Seriously, throwing over ice sculptures, so unnecessary.
Nothing worse than that.
Yeah. So, so then they get to the part where he's driving through the tunnel where his brother died, and so he
Oh
has to
shit.
yeah, he has to face that, and he gets through it. When he's going through his when they're going through the rendezvous, eventually the other cars kind of catch up, and so they disappear, and then when they come back, like there's a whole other team in the front, and all the announcers are like, "Oh well, what happened to Team Togacon? Like what's going
Where'd they
on?
go?
They
Yeah.
were they were in first place, and now they're not."
Right. That tunnel, it was dangerous because was it snake oil or whatever? His signature thing is like putting out oil right behind the car. And so he does that right as they're about to exit the tunnel. He hits that oil and speed just goes right over the edge and he's fucked, right?
Yeah,
He's not getting out of this alive. And yet somehow he does.
by shoving off from one side of a cliff and then driving up the other side of the cliff.
This was
That
pretty
makes no sense
awesome
unless you see it. Yeah, but then he also is able to he ends up coming back in front of everybody.
because he takes a shortcut. Everyone has to drive around and he just gaps the two, like the peak or the valley, I should say, between the mountains. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And even does like that slow mo, when he jump jacks across. And I was like,
Yeah,
hell yeah, let's go.
so like physically impossible but fun. So,
They kill Snake Oiler too at some point. He
right.
gets desperate and he starts like pulling out a gun and tries to shoot him. He's like trying to bully Speed, and so like horizontally on like a hillside, uses his jump jacks to push off Snake Oiler, and he's out of the race now. No one left to stand in their way.
They end up winning, and as a result, I guess they get an invite to the Grand Prix. But besides that,
Only one
I think
invite
it's just
apparently.
one. Yeah, so it's going to
Yeah,
go to TogaCon apparently. But besides that, they find out that that whole
their agreement.
yeah, their agreement was all fake
It was a sham.
after all. Yeah, because it turns out that TogaCon, they knew that Rolton was going to buy anyway, even if the price was up. And so they were just trying to drive the price up on purpose so that they can make more of a profit.
So they're still gonna sell out. Damn, that's
So
shady.
yeah, they still Rolton still ended up getting the foundry, and they just sold out, just got a bunch of money. And then on top of that, TogaCon was like not even planning to race in the Grand Prix.
I think the reason why Toga-Khan got it was because he was technically number one. He finishes before Speed.
Oh, was he? Okay. I thought
Yeah.
he was just kind of like the leader of their team.
I think he crossed first, and so technically he gets it. And then whoever wins the Casa Cristo ends up getting like a free ticket into the Grand Prix. But yeah, Toga Khan's like, I'm fucking retiring. I'm sitting pretty. My family
Yeah.
just sold out, so we're gonna be swimming in cash. Also, at the end of the race, he does that stylish, like kind of like fly out of the car, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
The reason why I bring it up is because if you look at the intro to the anime, that's actually a scene from the intro. It was pretty cool. I like that
That's cute.
that ode
That
to
little,
the
yeah.
source material.
That was cool. But then when he finds out, like when Speed finds out that the whole thing was a scam anyway, was it a sham rather anyway?
Mm-hmm.
He ends up going to the track to blow off some steam. Racer X not even follows him, but finds him there, and they end up having a conversation where Speed confesses that he thinks that Racer X is actually his brother Rex.
Did you think that as well? I think they kind of wanted the audience to think that.
I, it's hard to remember because it was so long ago that I saw that movie at first, and obviously after the first time, and you know what's going on, then you know what's going on. But usually, I mean, to be honest, usually I don't pick up on those kinds of things, so I could see myself like at the end being like, "Oh my goodness," you know. But Speed is like, you knew all my moves, and I could follow all your moves. Like they drove together really well, and you even knew where I was gonna be when I was upset because this is where Rex used to always take me,
Right.
and things like that. And then he takes off his mask. Everybody can see that it's clearly not Rex.
Yeah, Speed's like, oh, put it back on.
And Speed's like, oh, it's not you. And Racer X is like, sorry, your brother really is dead.
Racer X, played by Matthew Fox, as we now know. So he was the one that was doing all the cool fight moves.
Yes. Or his stuntman.
The only other thing I know him from is Lost, so this was actually a pretty cool gig for him.
I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else. And if I did, I didn't recognize him. Speed goes home and decides, what is he like deciding he decides he needs to leave too.
Really quick shout out to the costume designers, because I felt like Speed's, Trixie's, and Racer X's costumes all looked on point.
I know, they were so good. Togakon's sister comes over. What's her face? Haruko or something?
Yeah, Horuko,
Haruko?
played by Yu Nan.
She comes over and she's basically like, what he did to what Tejo, what is his name? Tejo? What Tejo did to you was wrong. And here's the invitation to the Grand Prix.
Oh shit.
The other thing that we totally forgot to mention is that Royalton reveals to Speed that the races are rigged.
Mm.
And Speed reveals that to Pops right now,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And Horuko comes over and is like, here's the, you know, my brother's not even going to enter the race anyway. Here's the invitation to the Grand Prix. Show them all,
Mm-hmm.
because she knows too, and she knows that Speed. If anyone's gonna challenge that, it's gonna be Speed. So she gives him
Yeah.
the invitation and is just like blow them all away.
Prove him wrong.
So Pops is like, oh, what did Royalton say that his fancy factory, how quick his fancy factory can make a car? And Spartle's
Mm-hmm.
like 36 hours, and Pops is like, we'll make it in 32.
Challenge
The entire
accepted.
family, bands together and spends the next couple days working nonstop.
This is cool because this is now powered by a rare Bernoulli converginator, which I guess is
Whatever the
supposed to
hell
be
that
an
means.
alternative to the also rare and now exclusive Royalton Industries transponder.
Yeah. What is a converginator? Is that even a real word or did they make that shit up?
It is totally not a real word. What the fuck is
I
that?
know. That's like, what was it? I can't remember which movie it was, but like the rare whatever movie was like unobtainium.
Oh yeah. Avatar, I think.
Unobtainium. Anyway, um
The Grand Prix.
the Grand Prix. Hodoko is all like, I looked over the rules. As long as you have this invitation, they can't turn you away. So they show up, and of course they're trying to turn him away. But sure enough, they scour the rules and they find that they can't turn him away. So they add him to the list as the 40th racer, and Royalton sees it and loses his shit.
Mm-hmm. He's getting desperate now.
He is, and so he literally right then and there puts $1 million bounty for anyone who takes him out before or during the race. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
literally like, I don't even want him to leave the locker room.
And as a contingency plan, he has his head racer Jack Taylor. He gives him the spear hook,
The spear hook.
and Jack almost insulted. He's just like, "I'm going to beat this fool on my own." And
Yeah. And apparently the spear hook is like super illegal.
right, yeah, very frowned upon.
The race begins, and
It's essentially Speed versus damn near everyone else because of that bounty.
oh yeah, and I forgot, Inspector Detector was totally involved. I just wanted to
The
mention that because
inspector.
I wanted to say Inspector Detector. So the race begins,
I hate you so much.
and race begins, and immediately they're like on his ass. They're trying to stall him. What exactly happens? Like he gets like,
They like box him in. Yeah,
yeah,
like the person in front of him just slams on his brakes, so he like slams into the back of him, and
yeah, and
someone
then he's
goes
like
up behind
stuck.
him.
Yeah, and but he's able to jump out of the way, and they blow each other up, and then he drives off. Right.
Hmm.
He quickly catches up to the rest of the racers. Eventually catches up to Cannonball, who is Royalton's guy.
Yeah, he's like the seasoned veteran and also dangerous racer too.
Of course, they're going back and forth for a while. It's pretty evident that Speed's gonna win, and so Cannonball gets desperate and actually deploys the spear hook.
That bastard.
And so those two are just connected to each other. Oh, I did love the scene where there's that part of the track that's like a dead drop,
Mm,
and that other car, like he's fighting with another car, and that car basically like explodes right before they
hmm.
go over the drop, right? And so he's like going down this drop, like dodging the pieces of the car and jumping out of
That
the
was
way and
cool.
rolling out of the way. And yeah, I really like that. That
That
was,
was cool. And I also like the way the style of racing done here because you kind of get a hint of it at the very beginning, but now everything's on full display. And
yeah,
so the car, you see the fact that like these cars are capable of doing like 360 spins and they're like grinding and stuff on the on the edge of the course and everything. Like I don't know, I just
yeah.
it was over the top, but I mean that's what the whole show was anyway. So
So spear hook, right?
and anyone that doesn't know what a spear hook is, it's essentially a like a little like grappling hook or like a claw that sticks out from the side of the car underneath the car next to you, and it just holds on to them, and they can't get in front of you or anything, and you can kind of
Yeah, you're just
whip
stuck
them around and
together.
control them. Hmm.
Yeah. So Cannonball deploys that thing, and like most people, anyone who has any experience can see. Oh, he's used the spear hook, and Spartle's like, he's using the spear hook, and
Yep.
Speed realizes, oh, there's cameras everywhere. There's cameras all along this track. So he picks a perfect moment and jumps his ass. That sounds wrong. So he jumps, and since they're stuck together, they both jump together, and he
Hmm.
exposes the underside of their car, showing the spear hook. But also in doing that, kind of whips him around, and it like breaks the spear hook. So Cannonball like flies off, and the spear hook's just kind of like lying there for everyone to see, and everyone's like, "Oh, a spear hook!"
It works out pretty well because Cannonball's car gets trashed, but also at the same time, the Mach 6 becomes inoperable.
Yeah, so he's like stalled out, right? And this is great because something at the beginning was like Rex was like teaching him how to like feel the car and feel what it needs. Pops is in the audience with Spritle, and they're like, this is this and this and this is what's wrong. And if he pops it into fifth gear, basically like if he puts it into fifth gear, pops the clutch, it'll reignite the engine. And mom is like, his mom's like, does he know that? And Pops make a face like,
Mm,
and he's like, would Sparky know that? So nobody knows that. But then Speed's sitting there doing the thing where he's avataring the car.
yeah.
He's like, "What do you need,
Tell me
baby?
what you
What do you need?"
need. Let me give it to you right.
He's freaking the steering wheel a little bit. So as much as we make fun of it, it was cool. And so he's able to get the car going, and he takes off and catches up to everybody who passed him up, and eventually wins the race, which is, he does this thing where he kind of like spirals past the finish line, and then the red and white checker becomes a tunnel that he's going through, but that's probably how he sees
Mm,
it because he's kind of spiraling, right?
it was cool. It's from his
Yeah.
perspective, yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool.
I was kind of getting
It was
dizzy too.
psychedelic, but it was cool. Yeah, I know.
Little
uh,
kaleidoscope.
yeah, and then he wins, and Royalton is exposed, and Cannonball is exposed, and everyone, they're all just exposed, and
Not in that way. They're fully clothed
right. And then and Toga Khan gives him that disappointed head shake.
after the break in the ice. Because it's like, seriously,
Yeah,
what did the ice sculpture do to him?
I know.
That's so rude.
I'm sure that's what the disappointed head shake was about. Was breaking the ice sculpture. Uh
Yeah.
so Royalton ends up going to jail. I totally said that like Anna says it. You're going to jail.
That's how she says it.
Yeah, jail.
Throws that twang in there.
Yeah. But anyway, um, he wins the trophy and he gets to drink the milk wherever that comes from, and he promised Trixie that he was gonna make a big show of kissing her after making that big win, and so he totally
Hmm.
does. And the whole family goes up there and celebrates that victory. Toga Khan Jr. testifies against Royalton.
I think after seeing all of that hard work that Speed was putting in, I think he started seeing like the error in his ways, and he was just like, yeah, that was kind of a shady ass move. He was just thinking
Yeah,
about himself, but
yeah, he definitely seemed on their side. Like at the end when he wins, like him and his sister are kind of like yeah together.
his reaction to Speed winning was definitely noteworthy because I think he was proud of him. He actually pulled through.
Yeah, it was cute.
He's like, the son of a bitch did it. Good for him.
Yeah, Speed's like in disbelief. As soon as he wins the race, he's just kind of sitting there panting.
Imagine that adrenaline dump after racing like that.
I would have just fallen asleep in the car, and everyone would have been like, "You won," and I would have been like,
Yeah. Imagine the focus you need to have to be able to do a race like that.
"Yeah,
I did feel like the final part of the race was very rushed though, because it seemed a little anticlimactic taking out the bad guy before the end. Everything looked so cool though. Even that like zebra static image thing that looked like it was running when they're driving past, that was pretty cool.
right, yeah, pretty slick."
Racer X, not in his uniform or his outfit or anything. He was just watching it in a tux.
Inspector Detector.
Who the hell's this new guy? Inspector
No,
Director.
it's his dad. Inspector Detector walks up and is like, my men are taking the family down. Would you like to go?" And he's like, "Nah." But you're like, "What? What do you mean? Why does he want to go down? Why does he want him to go down with the family?" Hmm. Hmm. And then
Something's up.
Inspector Detector asks him, "Do you regret not telling them the truth?" And it shows a little bit. It shows his history, and so you see Rex. He's far away from his car, and he sets off a detonator that blows up his car in that icy tunnel pass thing, and he goes off and he gets a surgery to change his face, and then assumes the identity of Racer X, and you find out it really was Rex.
Damn. A twist within a twist.
He said, I think he asked, "Oh, like, do you ever think it was a mistake or whatever?" And then after it shows, everything he went through, he's like, "If it was a mistake, it's one I'm gonna have to live with."
That reveal definitely caught me off guard. That was kind of like a oh shit moment for me when I
It
first saw the
really
movie.
was him.
Now the question is, was he better looking before or after?
Before.
No love for Fox.
No, he's still good looking too, but I just think the other dude is more good looking. Personal opinion.
That was a pretty trippy ending though, for sure, and a trippy reveal.
Right.
It was pretty much a happy ending. The Racer
Yeah, it's a happy
family, they do
ending.
their celebration, the
It's
kiss with Trixie.
it's an optimistic ending. It's exactly the kind of ending that I like. So another reason that I really like this movie. And again, even though it seems kind of like a kid movie, I still kind of argue that it's still an adult movie, even though it feeds into that nostalgia, and that's okay. I really enjoyed it.
Nostalgia for the anime, or
Well, I think just for your younger days.
oh sure, yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the visuals. I really enjoyed the calls to its manga and comic origins, and
Oh yeah.
the visuals, the colors, the action, the pacing. Even some might argue that the pacing was a little fast, but
I thought it was very fast, but it was effective.
yeah, exactly, it was engaging to me. It kept me engaged.
This is a movie about going fast, and so the movie itself goes
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
With that said, that is a wrap on.
Wait, aren't I supposed to do this part? That is a wrap on Speed Racer. If you made it this far, you get I don't know what we're gonna say that they're gonna get. Is it a good one or a bad one this time?
I guess good. Yeah. If you made it to the end of our episode, then you just underwent facial reconstructive surgery.
Oh dang! I was gonna say, then you get a training session at Royalton Industries.
Hey, 2 for 1 special.
There you go.
Any final thoughts or closing comments on Speed Racer?
Dang, I feel like that was like 15 years ago. This movie wasn't it?
Was it
This
really?
year,
Jeez,
yeah.
yeah.
That makes me feel old because I was a full grown adult when I saw when this movie came out. It's funny because I have a coworker that has become a good friend, and he's a full 10 years younger than me. And so it's always interesting to think like, oh man, when I was in college, this dude was 10.
I mean, when you're still in grade school, age is definitely a huge deal. But I
Yeah.
feel like once you're in your 20s and beyond, like
Oh yeah.
it's not really that big of a difference, you
It
know?
is it's interesting because obviously the age doesn't matter now. We get along great now, right?
Yeah.
But when I think back to like when we talk about, something like in my past or something like that, usually either he was a child or he wasn't even born.
Yeah. So the Speed Racer anime and manga, obviously way before our time, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, neither of us really got into that. But I love
Yeah.
the way that the Wachowskis just brought the animation to life, like real life, while still keeping a ton of zaniness as well.
Yeah. I think they did a good job translating it and keeping that spirit, that entire aesthetic, I guess.
Not to mention, the film is a visual orgasm.
Right? Which some people can handle and some people can't, I guess, because as I mentioned, it seemed like Andrew had a little bit of trouble with it. Yeah, I'm calling you out here. I know you're going to hear this one of these days.
Well, if you can't handle the orgasm, then get out of the bedroom.
Because he felt like because it was in 2008 by the Wachowskis, and so they were trying to kind of capture that Matrix uniqueness and didn't succeed as well as they did with the Matrix.
Hmm.
um I mean, sure, the Matrix was something of its own, and it's definitely a classic, but I didn't think they failed with Speed Racer.
Yeah, in comparison and in relation to the Matrix, then it was a failure. But and like Matrix, they're entirely different genres, entirely different movies. Like the
Yeah.
Matrix is meant to have that cool edginess to it, and like Speed Racer doesn't need to be that. It's not trying to be that.
Yeah.
It's just trying to be fun and quirky and goofy.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Andrew, you're not here to defend yourself, but we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one. Not saying that he didn't like it. He loves this movie. He likes the movie, but I think he just doesn't, I don't know, quite feel the same way that I do about it, which is fine.
And my opinion about Emil Hirsch for this movie was I thought he was great casting as Speed Racer.
I agree. I thought all the casting was great. John Goodman always kills it at whatever he does, and
Hmm. Well, specifically because Speed is a unique looking character. I was saying he's a little androgynous earlier, but he has this boyish baby face to him, and
yeah,
I think
yeah,
Emil also had that,
I
and he
agree.
emotes well too.
Hmm. I feel like he was, relatively unknown back then too, so they did a great job casting him.
I don't really have like much else to say other than I felt like Speed Racer had everything I would expect from a true to form live action anime adaptation. It was extremely campy, over the top action, far fetched storyline, doesn't overstay its welcome, and
Yeah,
then it doesn't take itself too seriously.
yeah, definitely.
And most importantly, it was just fun. It was a wild ride.
I agree. I'm glad that we both have positive views on this one.
Are you watching anything lately, film or TV?
I know you're gonna shit on this one, but we actually went to the movies for once and saw the
Whoa.
Marvels.
Okay. So what'd you think?
We actually both really enjoyed it. I mean, it's not gonna be like some game changer, super dramatic Marvel movie. Like it's fun, and I think it's supposed to be fun.
Do you think it was one of the better Marvel movies lately?
Yeah, actually, I do. I left that one. I laughed a lot and I felt good leaving it, and so, and of course, I mean, a lot of people like didn't like the movie, but have a lot to say about the end credit scene, and the end credit scene was definitely a revelation. It's awesome.
And with that said, I will go ahead and close out.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good idea considering that I'm literally done.
You are done. All right. Afflixionados is available wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. If you enjoy our content, give us a like, a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. As always, thank you to listeners out there for joining Stephanie and I. This has been Afflixionados Podcast, episode 34, Speed Racer, and we will see you all at the next race.
That's right.
Ever since high school, and when my diet went to shit and I was getting like zero exercise, man, I packed on the pounds, and it's been a struggle since, trying to keep that beer belly at bay.
Yeah, but you were never really. I mean, yeah, you got a little bit fluffy or whatever, but you've never really been fat. Like maybe you're a little overweight, but you've never been fat.
Going by the BMI, I'm technically morbidly obese.
No, you are not.
For my size, I'm supposed to be, I think, 140, and I'm like 170 right now. 175?
And it's all muscle.
No, definitely not muscle. Maybe pizza, if that counts as muscle.